So, okay. Hari ini tak ada apa, kita continue with our discussion in chapter 1. And before that, just to remind you again regarding your punya final exam. For those who not yet lock, lock your dates for your final. We have a final again. Ada yang tak hadir ke for the last two meetings. Just want to remind you again that this time we have final exam. The component of final exam is 40%. That we're going to do it that kita punya that final exam will be held in bulan apa? Month of what? Anyone of you?
July.
July bila?
8 of July.
8 of July. Listen guys. For those yang belum tahu kata kita ni, this is the first, if this is the first time, okay, please lock in your calendar that 8 of July we're going to have the final exam. That will be on Friday, right? So you cannot have any excuses of not attending the final exam unless you are sick, and that also will have to support by, of course lah, MC lah, and medical certificates. Then by that time, I believe you are all of you, I think will be in Sinto by that time. Right? Okay. Hari ini, as I said just now, we going to continue with our discussion in chapter 1. And by the way, I think by tomorrow, I hope that you'll be able to know your group by tomorrow, right? The group leader now is doing her best, right, to get it done by today or the latest by tomorrow. So, inshallah, by tomorrow also you will know, right, your groups, your group. And of course, since we have 45 students right now, the list right now, that I think now actually the final list. So you're going to have this class going to have 9 groups, and each group consists of 5 members. And when you get your groups, and definitely you have to what so-called have discussion with the group members about your assignment, right? So you have to plan when is how to do the assignment, that kind of thing. Of course, it's within your group members, because the first assignment, that is a group assignment, right? So as I said, don't you don't think that lambat lagi, no, right? Because don't rely on that date given to you, the due date given to you. As I said, it will be much earlier than that, right? Much earlier than that. When you know your group members, you have to meet some. You quickly have to go for that, for the assignment. So you have to meet the arrangement between the group members, right? Itu yang penting. That is very, very important, because after that there are more assignment coming for you, right? All right. Okay. So I will stop this one first, or attendance, scanning of attendance. I will come back later of our meeting, maybe 10 minutes before the end of our meeting. Saya balik kepada ni, for those who are not be able to register yourselves, maybe problem of technicals. Again, quickly you have to send your name and your metric number to me so that I can do it by manually. All right. All right. Before we go to our discussion, ada soalan? Any question you want to ask me? Anything? Now, before we start with chapter 1, we'll continue with chapter 1. Ada soalan apa? Any question you can ask? No question? At least no question. All right. So, as I said, I will stop this one first. Then kita straight away going for our discussion on chapter 1. Continue, right? Continuations of last meeting. Last discussion, chapter 1. Okay. Slide nombor apa? The one we left last time. Have we discussed type of ethical issue? Slide number 6. Have we discussed this? It is the last topic, the last slide that we discussed last week, or not yet, or slide number 5. Come on, guys, which one? Have you done on slide number 6?
Slide number 5, Doktor.
6 belum lah?
Belum.
Alright. 6, slide number 5, simple saja lah. Just what he's telling us here is what we discuss about the meaning, slide number 1, number 2, and 3, very much after we try to define what is actually ethics, right? As we know, ethics is study of moral. Kajian tentang moral, pengajian tentang moral. So we also understand that there are two types of morals, right? We call it moral standard and non-moral standard. First, I think knowing that ethics about morals, right? So kita akan first how to identify the situation of ethical situation or not. Itu the first thing. So we have a guideline, right? Kita ada guide, kita ada process, step that we can do. In fact, in chapter 2, if I'm not wrong, they will tell you, right? The step you have to take to identify the situation is what kind of situation, whether that situation is ethical situation or not, right? When we know that it's ethical situation, we want to know again, and it is definitely a moral issue. What kind of moral issue? It fall under the first one, which is moral standard or non-moral standard, right? So that is the first thing that we do when we face this kind of situation, right? But actually, we have what we call, later on I will tell you about automatics punya identification of the situation, and through kita punya mind saja, kan? Kita panggil system X, system C, right? Our mind will tell you, and through experience, through prototype, that kind of thing, we really know. We don't have to follow the step. Immediately, you know, cheating is wrong, right? Cheating is unethical. Definitely, it's involve moral issue. Corruption, right? It's wrong. Definitely is a moral issue, right? Mismanagement, abuse of power, you know that's wrong. Okay, that is involve moral. That is moral issue. Ultimately, only certain situation where you are not sure, you might use that what we call step. Cara-cara kaedah yang we follow the step to identify whether that issue is moral issue or not, ethical issue or not. Itu kita tak ada masalah. There are way. There are way that we can follow. But mostly how kita akan guna automatic tadi lah, system that we have within us. We call it X system and C system. Nanti kita discuss lah kan, what is meaning of X system and Y system. Okay, we already discussed that, right? Okay, kita tahu bahawa there are 5 characteristics of moral standard. There are 5 characteristics of moral standard. One, we identified there is moral issue, right? Then only we want to identify what level is that. Is it moral, what we call moral standard or non-moral standard? We already identified there is some question on ethical issue. We know that the ethical issue, and we know that it's a human issue, a moral issue. Now, what we want to identify is further identification is to confirm whether that issue is moral issue, moral standard, fall under the moral standard or not. So, we have 5 characteristics that can guide us to identify whether that will be what we call a moral standard or a moral issue, and or is a non-moral issue. As I said, out of 5, the first one, that is simple way. Yang paling mudah guna yang number 1 lah. 1 characteristic. Satu ciri yang pertama sekali, we look into how serious the injury that caused from that action. How serious of the injury that caused by or how significant that the action give the benefit, the benefit you can get from the action. Not only, but usually we don't have very much on the benefit, because usually when we talk about we want to look into all those unethical behavior. Kalau benefit ni tak apalah, we know there's nothing to do harm, no harm at all. That is good for us, right? The action is good for us. Not much question on that. The question is, we know the action will cause harm or injury, right? And the level of injury is significant. The level of harm is significant, tinggi. Kan? When we identify that is the level of that, then we know there is the issue of moral issue in there. And if moral standard is there, moral issue, a serious moral issue is there. Okay, then we can refer as just now. The rest of the number 2, number 3, and 4 is just to enforce, enforce our our standing, our understanding of what we call on the moral issue. Nombor 2, nombor 3 sampailah sekali lah impartial, that kind of thing. But we know that actually not bind by what the come up from the authority. It's more very much on us how we evaluate the thing and how kita nilai situasi tadi on our own. Tak ada memihak dan sebagainya. We are free of, we are impartial, and that is the rest of the characteristic. But as I said, the most important, the most easier way of doing to identify is use number 1. Itu mudah. Kita tengok injury tadi. Alright. We're done with that. Okay. Slide number 6. Okay. Type of ethical issue. Right. When we be able to identify the issue, right? We're able to identify the issue. For example lah, kita ada, kita kata said to say lah, but this is something is everybody know, right? I think it's applied in everywhere. And mostly, kalau kita mostly of enforcement agency, they have a lot of moral issue. They have a lot of ethical issue. We talk about ethical issue, we are talking about moral issue. Okay. And hardly, I think all over the world, hardly this kind of enforcement, you see, they are very less. Maybe lah, some countries they are not so rampant, right? And that's why they have what we call corruption index. For example, in Singapore, in Europe, some of Europe countries, right, they have very low level. The index is very good on this. But very much the rest of the countries, I think we have a serious issue when talk about this what we call enforcement agency, even in America, right? Okay. Say for example, right? Kita ambil tak payah jauh lah. You look into our country, right? So kita selalu baca, kita selalu baca. We have the knowledge, the information that, for example, one what we call a serious issue of corruption. I think everybody know, right? We can pick few enforcement agency in Malaysia. Maybe we take immigration, for example, or police, for example. Police, for example. Nanti boleh cakap saya bilang. Police, for example, this is well known, kan? Orang kata is public domain. Everybody know we have a lot of issue of this department, this agency, and from that, right? For example, corruption. Okay. Before we want to to identify, when we know when they have the issue on that, we have the ethical issue on this agency. What we want to look into, how come this agency, right, facing this kind of problem, have a lot of this problem. So what you do, the first thing you look into what we call a systemic, the element of systemic. What is the meaning of systemic? Systemic, I said, ethical question. Question on systemic dilemma. Okay, ethical question about the society, on social, about the social, right? Social meaning that social lah, that involve this department that involve in social and society. Political, we want to look into the political environment in Malaysia, legal system that we have here in Malaysia, and economic system yang kita, what we have right now, whether we have a good economic growth, we have a good cost of living okay or not, that kind of thing, we'll look into that. So all these things, right? This question on this issue, this element, we call it systemic. We call systemic, meaning that you look on the bigger picture, on the bigger picture. So this what we call agency, right? That work within this kind of environment. Political, we want to look political issue. We want to look with the political system that we have, the legal system that we have, that kind of thing. So this is what I call systemic. Then we also want to look into what so-called a corporate. Corporate meaning that internal. Look internally, how they run their business, and how the immigration run their business, the task, okay, the policy that they have, the culture, work culture that they have, working climate that they have, the impact that it gives to the society, and so forth. So this is when we talk about internals, you want to investigate internal, actually, that you call it culture, actually, a corporate, right? Element of corporate, meaning that go deep into the place itself, the institution itself, the department itself, that we call it corporate. And of course, the last one is, we call it individual, right? And we question on about that particular person who commit, person that who commit that corruption lah. So kita akan tengok, why this guy, why this guy corrupt, why this the group corrupt, why this team corrupt. So this is, we call it individual. We look into that particular person. Okay, so when we face the issue, especially it involve, agency, government agency, or whatever, corporation, company, we go to this, what we call element. We look into this component of systemic, component of corporate, the component of individual. Okay, clear or not? Okay, never mind. If you're not clear after this, you can ask me a question right before the end. We can proceed to the slide number 7. Okay, slide number 7 is talking about, can ethical qualities can be attributed to cooperation? Simple lah soalan dia sini adalah, can when talk about ethical attribute, element of ethics, can attribute to the cooperation. Boleh dah kita letakkan elemen-elemen dalam the running of cooperation. This is the question is, the question is the question, can we say that the element of ethic can attribute in the running of cooperation? So here there are 3 views. Ada 3 pandangan. The first view is that cooperation like people act intentionally. Cooperation is like people. It's not about people. It's like people. Sama. Maknanya company, institution, corporation, mereka ni adalah this thing is just like human, that people act internationally. Kita conscious apa yang kita lakukan, we consciously we act on that, internationally and consciously. And we have a moral right. We know about moral right. We know about right and obligation, tanggungjawab, and are morally responsible. Right? The first view kata cooperation like people act intentionally, right? We conscious with our action. We know about moral right, right? We know also about our obligation, tanggungjawab kita, and from that kita bertanggungjawab morally, we are morally responsible from our action. Ini pandangan pertama. Pandangan second view is here, it made no sense to attribute ethical qualities to cooperation. Pandangan kedua kata, it made no sense. You want to attribute the quality to the cooperation because cooperation is cooperation. It's not human. And kita sini since they are not like people, not humans, but more like machine. Cooperation for this group is nothing to do with human. tak ada, not a human touch there, right? It like machine. So kalau if they're like machine, so definitely lah, what the ethic can contribute to the corporation. So it's that only human can have ethical qualities. Machine don't have any what we call ethical qualities. So ini pandangan kedua. Pandangan kedua senang kita kata, it's easy to say that they are against, right? Again of what we call you force ethical things to the corporation. They don't agree on that. Maknanya the running of corporation, the running of company, and nothing to do at all with ethics. With ethics. Ini the kumpulan nombor 2 is the point of view of second group. Nothing to do with ethics. Okay. Point number 3. Okay. Point number 3 and number 1 is a bit, a bit similar. Only here, it's very precise. You say that the running of corporation is consists of people. Yeah. Corporation is not vacuum, bukan machine. Machine pun the human run the machine. Meaning that in corporation, in company, in whatever, okay, we human carry out the corporation action, so they are morally responsible. Since we run the corporation, kita bertanggungjawab. We must be responsible for our action. We must be responsible with our action. And ethical qualities should be applied. In a primary sense to attempt. Corporation have ethical quality only in a derivative sense. So you look into point view number 1, view number 3 is quite similar. In a sense of agreeing that ethical qualities must be attributed to the corporation, except view number 2, totally against, right? Later on, we will look into the argument on this 3 view. Okay, so we have the first argument again the business ethic, yang number 2 lah. View number 2, your justification of against the what we call ethic qualities, attribution of ethics to the corporation with this argument. Okay, why they don't agree, right? So the first reason why they said in a free market economy, okay, nanti kita bakal you're going to learn about there are few economics market, but we can say that the majority of the nation, dalam business sekarang ni, majority of business is we subscribe to this kind of market. We call it a free market economy. Right? There are also other market economy. Ada market economy, nanti kita belajar lah. Ada 3 or 4 in fact. Ada 4 jenis market economy. But very much 80%, more than 80% in this world, we subscribe to what we call a free market economy. For those who subscribe to the free market economy, okay, the focus of kita punya business is pursuing of market. And there is the main agenda of doing business to maximize the profit. Okay, to maximize the profit. Will ensure maximum social benefit, so that business ethical is not needed. So that their argument on rejecting, like as we discussed now, point number 2, why is they again of that? Because the reason, right? The reason is why we will look into, because that is not our agenda. The objective of in free market is to maximize the benefits, right? Maximize the benefit. With this achievement of maximum the benefit, that will trigger that to the society. So we have done a good thing already. You don't have needs. All those what we call elements of ethics should be come within how we operate the thing, right? This is the thing. So number 2, say the argument, a manager most important obligation is loyalty, right? When you work with a company, your commitment, your loyalty is to your majikan, to your employer. That's the only things. And your obligation, your duty is to give 100% commitment and loyalty to your company. So long as the company obey the law, okay, they will do all the ethical requires. And so for them it's simple because we know that, man, in every country, every they have a law or legal, they have a legal system. What more, they have also a very clear legal system to the business people, that kita panggil legal system on business. Clear. So they say, why you must, we already have that, a law, a clear rules, the kind of thing, why you want to again add on, come up with a question on ethics when everything is done. Tetapi kita jangan lupa, we cannot forget that we must understand that in ethics, there are sometimes some of the ethics is a bit ambiguity. It's not clear. They're not well defined in the law. It's not well defined dalam undang-undang. When this thing happen, so we cannot depend so much on the undang-undang. But this group of people, they say that as long as we follow undang-undang, we follow the law, so we should be safe and should be actually ethical right. And we submit to the ethical issue that we will submit to this, what we call the understanding of ethicals, what we call elements of ethics. So no question of that, and just follow the law. But as I said, kita discuss that some of the issue of ethics, there are also some ambiguity on that. It's not well defined in the law. Then they will come with a question of that. So kita tengok pula, for those who, we have three elements, three factors, three argument, three part of argument from this group. And this slide number 9 is those people who support the support of the view of number 1 and number 3, right? So argument of supporting business ethics. Then just now we know that view number 1, view number 3, view number 1, number 3 is supporting actually, right? That ethical quantities must be there in business. Okay, one of the argument is here, and the supporters of this business ethic. Ethic applies in all human activities. Simple, right? The argument, when talk about it applies. How we, in any our activities, there's some kind of ethics is there. The value, ethics is about value. So you want it or not, right? Your activities is about value, right? Tentang nilai-nilai. So ethic apply in all our activities, including on business activities. Business cannot survive without ethics. Right? So to the point, the strong arguments to say that ethic won't survive without ethic. Right? What the point number 2, and those support of that, again on business ethic, for this group said no, it cannot support on that, and it's wrong. Okay, so because business cannot survive without ethic. Business ethic is consistent with profit seeking, right? That the argument just now. Okay, the focus is on free market. The focus must be on, try to maximize the profit. So if you follow the ethics, those who support on ethics said, nothing's wrong with that, right? We still, the agenda, the objective is still seeking to maximize of the profit. So ethics is nothing to do. Nothing. Ethics is not going to stop that. In fact, it support that. Like, for example, the last one. Studies suggest that ethics does not detract from profit and seem to contribute to profits, right? So not distract. In fact, it's support on the activities to maximize the profit. The third one, ethics is consistent of profit seeking. The fourth one, customers, employees, and people in general care about ethics. And ask yourself as a customer, if you're business guys, ask yourself, do you care about ethics? Really, right? We don't want to be cheated, right? To be cheated by these business people, right? We know there are some issues sometimes in the activities of business. So we care about ethics. We want business to run, ethically and secara berethical. So that's why we care. And the last one is support to the what we call on number 3, okay, is consistent with seeking of profit. Still, the main agenda of doing business for this group believe that even though we accept that ethics is the main what the most important dalam business, kena ada ethics, but it doesn't distract, bukan mengganggu the objective of doing the business, that is to maximize the profit. So we have 5 arguments, and for those who support that ethic quantities should be there in business. Okay, we're done with that. Now, how many of you, how many of you dah ada buku? You have books. This is a case study in chapter 1. Dalam buku, in your book, chapter 1, we have this case study. Max and Company. Max is a drug company. Max is a drug company, is a big drug company, is American drug company. Recently, right, Max be able to produce what we call drugs, right, to treat COVID-19. Okay, they be able to produce drugs, and I think they already get the approval from American Drugs Agency that they can, it's safe to use this drug. I think that in the form of capsule, I'm not wrong. And so and they're already on the market, right? I'm not sure in Malaysia, tapi tak ada dalam sekarang ni, belum lagi dah to the point of we have open market. Dalam open market, I think very much some of this drug we buy by the company lah, very much of government buy this drug. I'm not sure about Malaysian government whether they buy this drug, but they will already have some of drugs, some of drugs that claim that they can treat. At least we have oral drugs. Macam kita makan Panadol lah, pills, whatever, to go against tadi lah, on curing, not curing, in fact, to try to cure lah, on COVID-19. So not only Max, but Max is one of them, one of a drug company be able to come up with the what called drugs, medicine to cure what we call COVID-19. Ini orally secara oral, not through vaccine. So I want you to, all of you, balik, baca, go and read this case study. Those who have the book, got chapter 1, you have this case study, very beautiful case study, very what we call significant case study for your to try to understand about ethics, Okay, you also can Google the thing, right? For those yang belum ada, not yet have. I said, I use the word not yet have. So as I said, I encourage all of you to have the book, right? That will help you a lot, especially now you're going to have an exam. So please have the book. And okay, even to Google's, right? Max Company punya case study is about river blindness. So you can type Max and river blindness. Max and river blindness. River blindness, buta sungai, whatever lah. So we have the disease, we have the what we call the case study where people been infected by this disease. For those, especially those staying along the bank of rivers in Africa, in South America. Saya tak mau cerita banyak lah, because I want you to read this one. The next meeting, randomly, I will pick one or two of you to explain to me about this case study. All right, not to me, to the class, right? About this case study. All right, up to now, we have already up to slide 10 and any question? Boleh tanya soalan. You can ask now. Anything. Or it's okay with you now. It's still, faham, you understand. Can I get some response on this? Whether it's, whether you're okay or not so far. Yes, guys. Salsabila kata okay. Kan? Alright. Who want to support Salsabila? That's you're on the right track. You but okay now.
So
Ada
far,
problem.
it's all okay, Doctor.
Alright. You yang kata okay semua ada okay. Good. Now kita continue with our discussion. We go to slide 11. Slide 11 ni, that's why it in bahasa, and because it's not in the book, man. We add this what we call sikit maklumat contents in chapters in chapter 1. There is some information that we want you to understand a bit. This is a bit extra information about ethics. Okay, this is about studies. Put yourself as a researcher. For researcher, there are two ways of doing research on ethics issue of ethics. Whether they can use what so-called modes of ethical, we call it ethical descriptive system, or you can use what we call it a normative ethics approach. The approach through descriptive approach or normative approach. This is if you want to write, you want to make a study. Okay, what is descriptive ethics? What is normative ethics? Okay, we explain here. Right, this is the first one. Descriptive. And when we talk about descriptive, sorry. See here, discipline talk about system or history of moral or ethics or moral. Talk about sejarah, system moral, about historical system of moral. And talk about that. Very much on telling us that what is this moral system is all about. That we subscribe with these people. For example, kita ambil, you want to study the what we call the Aborigines, orang asli, people in a certain group of people deep inside the jungle, Aborigines, or what we call orang asli on this year, we call that, right? If you identify this group of people, not necessarily orang asli, not Aborigines, somebody else, as long as a group of people, we want to know how they subscribe on the moral issue. And on the moral issue, how they subscribe on that discipline, the discipline of moral issue, the Anuti just now, right? So you want to be a study. So you can either use two methods I mentioned just now, approach of descriptive or normative. So descriptive is you just to explain, right? About the history of that group and the value that they subscribe, the merit system that they practice, that kind of thing. Cerita saja, with no conclusion, right? Disiplin membincangkan sejarah sistem moral, right? Deskriptif, menyatakan apakah sistem moral yang dianut oleh seorang individu, right? They be able to identify, okay, this group practice this kind of system. This group, these are the value that they subscribe. This is the value that they subscribe. So you just telling the audience about this system. This is what I call is approach of descriptive. Try to discuss on that, but not to the level of finding a conclusion. Right? There's no conclusion here. Whether that system, the belief, the practices that the activity that involve what you call ethical, moral issue, we don't come with the conclusion of whether that action is right or wrong. So this approach, there is no final conclusion. You don't tell whether the action is wrong or right. So what this description is level up to the level of telling us what the value, what the system that they apply, and that they subscribe. That's it. That is the only that level. They come to that level only, not to the point of they come up with a conclusion telling us that the activity this from this system, and we identify that the activity is unethical, for example, morally wrong, for example. They don't have that. The study don't come to that conclusion. Compared to the normative, normative, right? They will go one step further, right? After they identified the system that we apply by this group of people, they come up with a conclusion, right? Whether their action is ethical right or wrong, moral right or wrong. So that is what we call normative approach. So in English, we get normative is ought to. It's going to happen this way, right? Whereas descriptive, they tell us, right? They then tell us about what is the outcome of that activity. What is from the activities, what is going to happen? They don't tell us that. And that is descriptive approach. When you say the normative ought to, it's going to happen this way. This is normative way of doing it. Kan? Peringkat di mana kita come up with a conclusion. They can tell us from this, they tell us whether the action is moral right or wrong. Ini. So in ethics, most of the study will choose whether this kind of what we call methods to use. Whether you want to go towards you study more on descriptive approach or more on normative approach. Okay. Normative, we know the conclusion. No descriptive, no conclusion. Right. So just few information, right, about this approach. That's why I said you don't have that in the book. It's just some additional information that we would like to tell you, right, about this. If you want to about studies, about how we the approach of studies on the ethics, on the subject of ethics. So kita ada dua approach lah. We have only two approach that it can be applied during your studies. Study, I mean research, and that is also studies. Right? Okay. Just now, okay, we talk about this case study, right? Merck case study. For your information, right? For your information, in our business ethical studies, right? We have only 4 main theory, right? Okay. On ethical studies, we have only 4 main theory. Only 4. It's not difficult, right? Only 4 theory. The first one is very much we will talk about utilitarian approach. Utilitarian approach, later, chapter 2. We focus each of these concept or theory. The second theory is we're going to talk about the concept of right. And kita bisa dengar concept of right. Maybe utilitarian approach maybe is something new to you, but talking about right, I think it's quite, I think every one of us understand what is the meaning of right. Each of us, as human being, we have the right. So this is another theory, right? Another one is we're talking. Another theory is a third theory is about justice, keadilan, about justice. The concept of justice also apply in our studies. And the last one is the theory of caring, care. We call due care, or caring, the theory of caring. So basically, very much this four. But of course, we've supported, we supported with or support with minor theory, minor concept that support on each is all of these these four main concept or theories. Tak banyak, not much, only four main, and very much chapter 1 from chapter 2 until the end. So we are looking on this concept, itinerant concept, right concept, justice, right, talking about caring and the kind of thing. Very much this case study, there are two main concepts that apply on this case study. There are two main apply. I don't want to tell you the whole thing, right? Otherwise, you tak baca lah, So one of the case study about Max doing good thing to these people that having, this kind of disease. We call it river blind disease. And definitely, when I refer to that, I think all of you, when company or organization go and help society, kita panggil apa? What we call that? Activities, corporate, I think UM also doing that, most companies, I would say all, some companies subscribe this theory, this theory of caring. Some is not. So if you subscribe of this caring theory, definitely this activity will be there. One activity is there. This. Apa dia? What is that? What activity is that? Then you go and help people. If, especially society lah, you go help society. You know that the corporation, the business, especially in business corporation, their main objective agenda is profit, right? There is the money, there is their responsible, their obligation is to maximize the profit. But knowing that going to help people, it will give them a profit. Very much they're going to make a loss, right? Okay, they incur cost. They incur cost. Kalau dia beli tolong, they incur cost. But yet, they'll be able to, to absorb that loss for the benefits of the society. So their activity, what we call that? Apa yang kita panggil?
Doctor, is it CSR?
CSR. What is that? CSR. What you mean?
Corporate social responsibility.
The corporate social responsibility. That's good. Betul lah. And this is obligation. Some said this is obligation, but another group said no, this is not our obligation. Bukan tanggungjawab kami, to go and help. Right? Kami punya obligation, as you all know, right? There are theory on that. Okay. The responsible, the obligation of the company pada siapa? To whom? Okay, company, right? Profit-seeking company. What is their obligation? Is to whom? Kepada siapa? To whom is their obligation? Doing the business untuk siapa?
To the society, doctor?
To society, but that profit is going to whom? Seeking to try to maximize that profit. That profit to whom they want to give?
Shareholder, doctor.
Shareholder, very good. To shareholder, that is their responsibility, right? Their obligation is do the best to maximize profit, and the benefit is to the shareholder. And shareholder will get the dividend, that kind of thing. So this is their obligation. This is their responsibility. Their commit to the job is they try to maximize the company so that company be able to give that benefit to the shareholder. So we have theory afterward. We have two theory. One is what we call shareholder theory. One we call it the stakeholder theory. Right? A bit different. Shareholder theory and stakeholder theory. In ethics, very much we are talking on stakeholder theories. Right? Okay. As our friend mentioned just now, CSR. corporate social responsibility. As I mentioned just now, right? One of the things that Merck's doing, right, to the river, to those people living, taking care about those disease, river blindness is the one. Yeah, they go and help these people. Yeah, in a sense that these people need their help. So what they do is they fulfill this obligation, eh, fulfill this obligation and responsibility. So we call it corporate social responsibility. If we're talking in the term of business, the issue should be there. Sepatutnya lah. And it's not their main obligation. It's not the business people punya responsibility. Go and help people. As I said, and it can cause them huge losses. That what what the mix have experience of losing a lot of money. But they are very clear, right? They are very clear. They must go and help these people. Okay, what is corporate social responsibility? Here is it CSR is referred to the corporate responsibility or obligation to a society. Simple saja, right? So what happened to Malaysia last year, end of last year? We have big what we call flooding in Selangor and other part of the country, right? So you can see a lot of this company came in and help this society and people living lose their houses, and a lot of things that people suffer from the outcome from the flooding that at the end of last year. And of course, when we celebrate the new year this year, right, some part of the country also have been facing the same problem, right? A lot of damage through because of the flood. And this company, right, came in to help them. And I think UEM also involved in this what we call activities of corporate CSR. So what I heard is a lot of students, business, some supported by the staff of UUM, so they'll be there, and they was there in some of places in Selangor, in Kedah, during that time, right? Go and help people clean their house, give some goodies, that kind of thing. So business ethic is both a part of corporate social responsibility and part of the justification for corporate social responsibility. So when we talk about business ethic, it should be included all these activities. CSR is part of business ethic. CSR is part of business ethic. And then this one that I mentioned just now to you is shareholder versus stakeholder theory. And shareholder, I think everybody know, right? Actually, who own the company is not your boss. If you're working in the company, it's not your boss. It's not you. You don't own nothing. The boss is own nothing. They're just there to, their duty, their responsibility is to make sure that that company will do very well to maximize their profit. And the profit will go to shareholder. This shareholder theory, concept of shareholder. Shareholder only concerned with this, right? But why makes it's a great company? Because the shareholder also have a very much concern on this CSR activities, right? So the management have a support of shareholder. The management have a support of shareholder. If the shareholder go again, all this kind of activity SR, it won't happen. It won't happen. Legally, is no. You cannot take any action to company who go again of CSR, who don't believe on CSR. Because if the shareholder said, no, we don't believe on this, right? What you want the company is to maximize the profit. All the profit must come to us, to the shareholder. Nothing you can do about that. Tak boleh buat apa. But there are companies, don't be surprised. There are companies who subscribe of this belief, to subscribe of this belief. It's not their responsibility. It's not their obligation to go and help people, right? So there is shareholder, right? Theory. A stakeholder is in bahasa we call those who have a kepentingan, and people stakeholder is those people, those body, individual who have a concern on that particular event, and so we call a stakeholder. It can be you, if you're working with that in that company, you are stakeholder. The government is stakeholder. The what called the media is stakeholder. The society is a stakeholder. So this is what I call it a stakeholder theory. Okay, we go one more, or we stop and we can discuss about the rest. We don't have to rush things. I said we have only 8 chapters. In fact, we'll be able to complete the 8 chapters within the time given, right? Okay, now we're talking about new issue in business ethics. For example, you take 100 years back, 200 years back, the business is already there at that period, right? But at that time, not much issue on business ethics, not much issue in the running of business, right? Meaning the ethics at that time is not that what we call challenging. Not much of an ethical issue at that particular period of time. But now we have a lot of issue on ethical issue about the running of the business tadi lah in business, right? One of the reason why we have a lot of a complex issue, difficult issue to solve all these things because the introduction of new technologies. But last time, kalau we were talking about technology, maybe the machine, that kind of thing, and that is the only technologies apply at the time, that particular time. It was 100 years back, 200 years back, and using the technology is using the machine, that kind of thing. But now we have so many technology that have been able to, innovate a lot of new technology. And when with this technology, we face a lot of problem and a lot of issue of ethical issue in business. What more with how we do the business right now, right? This we call a globalization, right? Business is no more is local, right? No more domestic, it's across the border, right? Across the border. We're talking about selling chicken also, right? We have so many, company from overseas come to us and sell chicken. As simple as that, right? What more with other product? So we are facing all this what we call globalization. Talking about globalization, the more complex, the issue of more complex, more challenging, ethical issue of more challenging. All right. So you can give me one good example, the new technology that creates of this issue of ethic issue. As we know, technology is good for us, right? We cannot deny that the introduction of technology is very much help us, especially this technology yang I cakap ni. It gives some impact, a huge impact to us, in our everyday life. What more to the business, and business also, this when having this technology, it help a lot in how we run the business. But at the same time, they also creates issue. They create a lot of issue. What more on ethical issue? So can any one of you give one example, a new technology that create this kind of thing, Yes. Any one of you? Technology apa yang kita introduce that create all this thing? As I said, the huge impacts in our everyday life, huge impacts on the running of business. Tak dengar. Not clear. Yes. Anyone? What technology is that? Yes. Can you hear me? Boleh dengar tak? Suddenly silent. Silent
Yes,
is...
doctor.
Ah,
Can hear you, but I couldn't get the answer.
you cannot get an answer. Come on. We have 45 students here. What is the technology that been introduced to us? Right. Sekarang ni, I don't think this technology, you cannot, what we call what the word to use. You cannot live without this technology. Zaman I dulu boleh. But this generation, you cannot live if you don't have this. You cannot, you cannot apply this technology. Apa dia that technology? What is that technology? Smartphone. Smartphone is just a tool. Smartphone is just a tool. Tetapi
Doctor, is it internet?
internet. That's right. The answer is internet. And so we have IT and information technology come from the having a internet. Otherwise, we don't have that. Okay. Otherwise, kita cuma ada telefon dululah. You can have a fixed line. And then when we have the internet right now, it gives some huge impact on our everyday life. Kalau I nak tanya you, can you live without your phone with you right now? Smartphone, that kind of thing? I doubt it. Kalau you kata yes, I can. So I think quite difficult lah to absorb you punya. And so how the internet give a big impact to us in our everyday lives. Likewise, it give big, huge impact to the business, to the running of the business. Okay. Sekarang ni, we have online business, e-commerce, that kind of thing. And when we have all this, then we have a lot of ethical issue, right? People cheating, that kind of thing, manipulate of the data, that kind of thing. So we have a lot of this. What more, as I said just now, when we are not doing that and we are not having that locally, we are also having that internally, cross the border. People coming here doing business with us. We are doing their business in America, in Thailand, that kind of thing, So you are not only affect local people, it affects people all over the world. So the impact is there. It's huge impact. All right. What more? When we talk about technology, internet dah confirm. Apa lagi teknologi yang that you know? Nano technology, modified engineering, kan? In this, it give a lot of issue, modified engineering, on genetic engineering. We have a lot of that issue. Right now, we have issue, for example, modified genetic engineering. For example, right now we have rabbit that glows, keluar cahaya. Malam-malam dia keluar cahaya. And it's using this technology, modified genetic engineering, modified genetic engineering. They're able to produce rabbit that have color, that glows during masa malam, night time. Dia nampak some moving, green color, red color, yellow color, running all over the place. So that is the result of modified. We have a clone. When we have a clone, we have a lot of issue. The ethical issue. We're able to clone fruits, flowers. What more? We have lot of problem when we be able to clone animals, cows, that kind of thing. Some people said that cloning is just a matter of time, as thin as the onions punya skin, that people be able to clone manusia, humans. They be able to clone, scientists be able to clone humans. The technology is almost as a thin of onion skins. Mana is close enough, they'll be able to clone us, human. So when this happen, definitely there will be a lot of ethical issues there. Yeah. For example, the rabbits now. Something what the issue of that? Beautiful, right? So they do understand that when they create the thing, for example, rabbits can glow, bagi gambar, bagi cahaya, uh, during night time. So how safe that rabbit is, when dia punya animal, dia punya ni, knowing that where they run away, and so this is the thing, dia predator tahu di mana dia lari dan sebagainya, dia punya lubang dan sebagainya. So these people don't look into that. So this lot of discussion on the issue of this, modified modified genetic engineering and that kind of thing. Some scientists prove that, for example, modified food, fruits and vegetables is not safe enough, right? It's not safe enough to consume. So this one people start to question on this introduction of this what we call new technology. Okay, saya akan stop di sini. Kita stop on page slide number 15. Then remind me in the coming one kita akan sambung dengan we're going to discuss on start with slide 16, right? We continue with slide 16. So I will stop this. Saya akan buka, I will open back, I will share with you the attendant for those who are not yet, register yourself as your attendant. You can do it now. At the same time, those who have question, you can ask now before we stop our class, our meeting. Ada soalan apa-apa you want to ask?
Sir,
Yeah,
can
siapa
you
ni?
add me manually?
Nur,
No, Atira.
Nur Adira. Okay, Nur Adira, please masukkan dalam WhatsApp group. Group WhatsApp
Okay.
group. Your name
Sebab,
and don't forget your metric.
okay, because UUM attendance saya dia buat problem. Dia processing dari pukul 11.28 tadi.
Only today. Before that, okay. Did
Before
you have problem
this,
today? Or the last meeting pun you have problem?
problem juga. Tapi dia accept. Tapi kali ni dia processing lama sangat.
Maknanya ada problem, technical problem lah. Okay, last meeting tak ada masalah kan?
Dalam 30 minit.
Ada masalah lah, but you be able to register yourself, right? That is what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Kan? Okay. Okay, no problem. So afterward, you just masukkan nama you dalam you punya dalam WhatsApp group,
Alright, sir. Thank you.
I will add manually.
Okay.
Okay, siapa lagi? Ada nak cakap? Anything you want to ask? Do it now. Come on. Apa-apa? Ada yang ada? The meeting dah? Okay. Ada left the meeting dah, tak ada apa nak tanya. Okay, tak apa, boleh left, no problem. Ini kalau ni lah. Tapi before you left, again, kena keep tracks on the, especially on the information nanti. Time to time saya akan keluar the information, I will come up with the information that you have to know about that information. And if you left early, later on you're going to have a problem. Especially when you start to do your assignment. Sometimes I will help you. Taman yang boleh. And if you start to leave earlier, then you are going to have problem later on. Okay, kalau tak ada apa, okay guys, kita insyaAllah kita jumpa coming Thursday, right? And in between of that, you ada apa-apa, you can WhatsApp to me, right? Guna group WhatsApp, don't WhatsApp personally, right? I prefer that through WhatsApp group, so that when I explain and everybody will know. Sometimes apa yang you tanya, right, actually is others also love to ask the question, but knowing you I tak heran lah, kan? And it's not something what we call surprise that local students dia tak boleh mau tanya soalan. Okay. Okay, kalau tak ada apa guys, kita jumpa lagi. I will stop this kita punya meeting. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.